Hey folks, Olly Connelly, Daily Chaos. I don't know. Oh, it's a bit dark, yeah, I know. Well, that's alright. Prefer radio. So what is it, 22 days to the election? 22 days to the election. I don't know about you, but feeling very helpless. Very helpless. This great reset that the media's talking about now, I hadn't heard about it till about a month ago. And then I was really surprised when just a week ago, maybe 9 days ago, tops, I think it was about 9 days ago, the media started parroting on about the Great Reset, and so did the government, the UK government, and a little bit of research, and it turns out that it was first being discussed back in Davos about 3 years ago, and Trump gave a speech at that same Davos to decry it and to say, you got to be joking. We don't want that. We don't want globalization. It's the duty of a leader of whatever nation to protect their people first. And quite right. I mean, if all leaders were to do that, then electorates would know where they stand, no? They're voting for local concerns, are they not? And they want their leaders to represent them. About a week after that, George Soros, that guy again, pipes up and says, this guy's dangerous and this administration is dangerous and it needs to be taken out. And we've seen what's happened since with Mueller, and then the political impeachment, and a highly partisan media, where even Fox, which is supposed to be, if you like, leaning to the right, has been against Trump. And so, yeah, I mean, the guy, it would appear he's had one hand behind his back throughout his presidency, throughout this first term, and that personally leads me to empathize with the guy, because whilst by default I don't trust any politician, albeit I hoped the best for him because he was not a traditional politician. When you see the whole establishment apparatus, the globalist establishment, throwing their weight against him, pretty much to a man in terms of the mainstream media, well, personally, it makes me support the underdog. You know, it's kind of, I suppose, a little bit the British way, you know. But also just wondering, well, is this a big psyop? You know, is Trump an enormous psyop? Is the whole Q thing an enormous psyop? I've never, gone full out in support of Q because I don't know the truth. Although to see Q now getting banned from the likes of Facebook, and who knows, maybe they'll even pull this video down because you're not allowed to talk about Q without getting, your content ripped down or something. Well, what actually has Q said, which has been somehow dangerous? Is it in the House of Representatives? I think that they passed some sort of a motion to say that Q was a terrorist organization, them and the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. They said it in the same resolution or whatever it was. They put it down a few weeks ago. I just find that extraordinary because Q hasn't actually said anything which incites violence at all. No, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen nothing, I've heard nothing Compare that with Antifa, which they didn't address. The House of Representatives in that motion. I don't see how you can compare Q and the KKK in any way, shape or form. All these things make me consider Trump in a fairer light, increasingly over the course of his administration. And before, when he was running for president, it seemed to me it was a fantastic thing to be ripping apart duopolistic politics. You know, the sort of the Pepsi challenge, Pepsi or Coke, take your pick. They're both gonna rot your teeth and potentially give you cancer. That's the kind of choice that we seem to have had in the UK, Conservative or Labour. You know, again, it's like which is which. You know, well, Labour is like a fast track race to the bottom, if you like, in terms of dismantling, if you like, great British values. Whereas with the Tory party, it seems to be the same, but just in slow-mo. Which brings me on to my biggest concern, really, so far as the UK is concerned, which is the truth about this government and of Boris Johnson, because his continued insistence in ruining the livelihoods of millions of people, setting up a torrid 2021, it appears to me, threatening our sociability and so on and so forth. It just speaks volumes, given that the WHO came out, what was it, 10 days ago or so, with stats saying that this COVID-19 thing is about as dangerous as regular flu. Little better, little worse. Now we hear that the statistics are going to be compiled, flu and COVID-19 together. What are they going to mix it up? Are they now the same thing, and we've got to be scared of flu? The fact is that not that many people have died of this thing. The fact is that, yeah, I mean, it is dangerous for people who are vulnerable, of course, absolutely. We've seen that. So is flu, by the way. We don't have lockdown for that. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And when you have more and more doctors speaking out, and epidemiologists, people on the front line saying, you know, this cure is way worse than the cause. And yet you have, for example, the British government is intractable with regards their stance, the necessity for lockdown, threatening people's livelihoods. We're seeing more and more businesses going down on a daily basis now. Why? It just doesn't add up, you know? And I think that we really, really, really need to question what is going on here. And in the light, particularly now, of this great reset, and you can find out all the details about that at the World Economic Forum's website. Look at that. They want to completely change our lives, yet there is no public mandate. It was never discussed in the Tory manifesto, A little bit like the UN Migration Compact. That was never discussed in any Tory manifesto. May went and signed that, which essentially negates borders, completely against the spirit of the British people when they went and voted in the EU referendum, for example. Same deal with carbon credits. A huge threat to the UK economy. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be, taking our environment seriously and all the rest of it. I think we should. But I also believe that these are debates where you need to be open to all sides. And I just wonder how much of what we hear about climate change, for example, is propaganda, is just utter nonsense, based on pseudoscience, people given grants only if they agree with the narrative, for example. Hearing, tales about all sorts of folks on the other side of the debate who are silenced. Various things, look it up, you look it up. But I think it all hinges, I think it really does hinge. If Trump is true, if Trump is genuinely true, then it all hinges on the 3rd of November and that election in the States. Because if the States if democracy there, I mean, it's a constitutional republic, yeah, but essentially if democracy is overturned there, there's no hope for the rest of us. If Boris has some kind of globalist agenda, as appears to be the case, he wears a lapel pin, which is a pin which basically is in cahoots with Agenda 2030, which the vast majority of the British public don't even know anything about. Where was that in the Tory manifesto? Why is there such secrecy? Why are our leaders not doing our bidding? Why are our public servants not providing public service, i.e. carrying out the wishes of the people that vote them into power? If we have problems on this planet, and yeah, sure, we do have some problems on this planet, why can't we have an honest and fair and balanced debate about that, as opposed to the debate being hijacked by plutocrats, by people that basically tell us how they want us to live, and we do it, or what? We're in a state of soft martial law in many, many nations around the world now. I'm wandering up and down a boardwalk on the beach where I live, because if I go on that street over there behind me, I have to wear a mask. If I don't wear a mask and I get caught by a cop, I get fined thousands of euros. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And yet a few months ago they were saying, oh no, you shouldn't be wearing a mask. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to wear a mask, and these microbes or whatever, these tiny little things, will go through the cloth of a mask anyway. And now they're saying something different, and then they're saying something different again, and then the WHO just said, actually, you know what, we shouldn't be having all these lockdowns. They seem to be making it up as they go along, causing great uncertainty for a death rate that actually they don't even particularly measure. They're measuring the rate of infection. I mean, you know what? I don't give a damn if I've been infected or not by this thing. What I do give a damn about is how that affects me. So if I'm seriously ill, I care about that, of course. Or if I die, well, guess what? I'd probably be worried about that. But to be infected by something, well, you know what? We're affected by things every day. That's what the immune system deals with and needs for it to become strong. So we are in a situation where things just don't add up, and one has to question why. Why are we being placed in that situation? I don't know. Now, like I say, I feel pretty helpless. I'm sure a lot of you do. But it appears to me it all hinges, if Trump is true, on that election. And him winning a landslide, so they can't contest it. Can you believe it? That people that reckon they care about democracy and things like that, that call themselves Democrats, people like Hillary Clinton, have gone on video, look it up, and said, Joe Biden, you must not concede that election under any circumstances. It just beggars belief. What kind of politics is that? Some would say that the US is in a state of foothills of civil war now. There was that guy that was shot at point blank range and killed in Denver the other day. There was another one a couple of weeks ago that was shot and killed who was canvassing for the Republicans. The division that's been created is just unbelievable. It's incredible. And I've seen documents from Democrat supporting groups that tell people on the 3rd of November, after you vote, stay on the streets. I saw another one today that says dress up in MAGA hats, Trump hats, and even dress up as policemen, so that you are more likely to be considered as friendly until things kick off. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. And if the United States is then, I don't know, are we going to see civil war, if you like, almost formally kick off on election day in the States? That's terrible enough, but at least in the States people have some sort of protection. They have the right to bear arms. In places like the UK, we don't have that protection anymore. Feeling pretty helpless. Just crazy. I don't know what the point of this video is actually. What's the point of any of it? We are just, it's like we're rabbits in the headlamps here. I think for most people, blimey, I think most people are just in a state of denial. They smell problems, but they just want them to go away and just hope that they're going to go away. But when you look at the kind of rhetoric that's coming out from these globalist types, when you look at the stated intentions of groups such as the United Nations with Agenda 2030 and the World Economic Forum with the Great Reset, which now has, as I say, it's been adopted by the UK government, for example. I'm not sure what other governments around the world have adopted that, but they, many of them we see are adopting the same slogans, like "Build Back Better." That's Biden's Democratic presidential campaign slogan. What's it doing behind Boris Johnson on a board, or different statesmen around the world? What are they doing with that slogan? Why are they all using that slogan? It just sounds crazy to think of this. No, correction, it did sound crazy to consider this a globalist conspiracy until very recently, and increasingly now, as the days go on, day by day, those conspiracy theories, they don't seem untoward at all. Anyway, I guess we're playing the waiting game. 22 days to go. It seems to me that whatever the result of that election, it's going to be twisted and used to drum up civil unrest, quite possibly a civil war in the States, with ramifications for every living soul on this planet. I suppose my message to people is to talk things through. If you're unaware of the Great Reset, look it up. Go to the World Economic Forum website and look it up. And question, why is there this lockdown? Why are there these draconian measures? Why are our parliamentarians in the UK, for example, not saying, you know what, this is just crazy, this is ridiculous, this is lunacy. Because that's what it is. It's lunacy. So, I had a tiff with a fellow Brexiteer earlier, because that person, who will be nameless, who I have a lot of time for, a lot of respect for, isn't really talking about some of these things. And I pointed that out and asked why, in a typically Olly provocational way, with zero diplomacy, why are you not talking about these things? How can you trust Boris? And that person accused me, said, this is all about the fact that your community is collapsed and I've got a bigger community or something. This isn't a popularity contest, people. It's about sovereignty. It's about self-determination. That's what it's about. And yeah, I am fearful, frankly. I am fearful. I was very, very concerned when I saw Theresa May taking over Brexit, in inverted commas, which is basically why I set up Daily Brexit, because I didn't think that Brexit was going to happen. I just didn't trust Lib Lab Con to deliver on the democratic will of the British people. I set it up because you know what? I don't want to see democracy diluted. And it's the same deal. It actually wasn't about Brexit for me when I set up Daily Brexit. That's a means to an end. Brexit is crucial, absolutely crucial. It's crucial that we have democracy, and in my opinion, and I am happy to defer to democracy, albeit that I have reservations about how democracy is now rigged through demographic engineering. Nonetheless, I do believe in democracy, and I'm happy to stand by if the will of the people as a whole is X, even if my view is Y, because you can't fight, you shouldn't fight the will of the bulk of the people, in my opinion. I mean, it's a dreadful system, but it's the best system we got. But Brexit is just a detail. It's just one. It's a crucial battle in the war to retain our self-determination and to improve upon that. And that's exactly the same deal with the United States. So that, people can basically get on living decent lives. And the UK and the US are in the way of the New World Order. The New World Order, the much stated over many decades now, New World Order, which is a highly concerning thing that, again, very, very few people know about, even today, because the media never discusses it. And yet, global leaders have been parroting that phrase and what it means in terms of joined up global government for decades. In my personal experience, since George Herbert Walker Bush first talked about it, and subsequently many, many, many leaders, not least of all including in the UK. I really, really, really do believe that people deserve to understand how their political systems work. I was listening to some of the SCOTUS hearings, the Supreme Court of the United States congressional hearings with what's her name, Amy Coney Barrett, who is Trump's nominee, and they were doing their political posturing, what have you. But we're setting all that aside, and whether or not she's suitable or whatever, setting all that, I personally think that she looks great, but setting that aside, because that's an opinion. There was one senator, so it's not a congressional hearing, is it, because there's a senator there, but the hearings into the SCOTUS anyway. There was one senator who piped up and he said, all I'm hearing from everybody so far in these hearings is politics, and I think we need to get back and consider civics. And he brilliantly outlined the difference between civics and politics, i.e. civics is the way politics is conducted in order to keep an even keel with checks and balances, as opposed to politics, which is about policy, and people have their differences and what have you. And when they cannot overcome their differences, civics come to the rescue. And so, for example, in the UK, we have a politicised judiciary. We saw that, I think, for example, with Boris Johnson's prorogation of Parliament, and then that was taken to the Supreme Court, and it was thrown out. Well, I'm not a political scholar, but it seems to me that was a very, very political decision that they made, that Supreme Court. The point of civics is that it keeps the judiciary apolitical. And that's what this senator was talking about earlier today at the Amy Coney Barrett hearing. And I think we have to try and imbue in all of our citizens, subjects, whatever it is, depending on where you live, and an understanding of how the system works and how it needs to work to be as fair as possible. And then you have your politics on top of that to really screw things up. And if only we could imbue in people some of that understanding of how our political structures work and what we've seen in the past in various different places around the world, different regimes, some maybe better than others, some downright evil, then maybe we could just improve on it. Instead of which, we have an increasingly dumbed down population. And we're all fodder, cannon fodder, political cannon fodder, led into a state of confusion, Pied Pipered potentially now into a sort of a globalist tyranny, in my opinion. And well, there you go. But we don't have that. Really precarious people, really precarious times. Don't know where we're going, but I do know the one thing that we have to do is to keep talking, to try and there's nothing else we can do. There's nothing else we can do. Is there any point in me publishing this? Is there any point? Is it going to make any difference whatsoever? Probably not. Is there any point in me putting out posts on Facebook and on Twitter or wherever else? Probably not. I mean, it's a trace change situation. But what I do feel is that if enough of us do that, if enough of us are talking and discussing these things with our little mini communities, then we can at least maybe create a little bit more awareness about trying to improve things as opposed to just being ridden over roughshod by people who apparently want to change our world, put millions of people out of work, for example, with zero accountability, no debate, no discussion. That is wrong. So I don't know. Maybe I will put this out to do a little bit there. Or maybe I won't. Anyway, there you go. 22 days. 22 days. Expect fireworks, people. Oh yeah, by the way, the loads of stuff coming out about Obamagate. Again, nothing in the media. Nothing in the media. I tell you, the media has got more to answer for than anything else, in my opinion. The fourth estate, the news media, the people that are supposed to hold politics to account. That's their number one duty, to represent their demographics. Instead of which, what they're doing is they're telling their demographics how to think. And that, in my opinion, is profoundly evil. And I guess that's why I do this. I guess that's why I do this stuff that I do, because, and I'm sure a lot of you, because, well, people deserve to have the opportunity to consider this stuff, rather than just, oh yeah, that Gary Lineker bloke, isn't he lovely? Let's, buy loads of Walker's crisps and listen to what he has to say, and never consider remotely the implications of the fact that within the EU, for example, our MEP cannot represent us in the EU Parliament, which is a huge reason why the EU is a bad idea. No. He's all over the Mirror, the Sun, the whatever. That Gary Lineker, he's a lovely bloke. He's on the Beeb. I know people are waking up. But there's still so many gaps in people's knowledge, including mine. And we just have to keep going with the dialogue, because it's all we've got. It's all we've got. God bless you, folks. Nighty night. Olly Connelly. Daily Chaos. Ordo. Ruddy KO in it. Yeah.